Hello, and welcome back to what will probably be the final episode of the Custom Element LP. So I found this here, the one missing secret. So let's just get this over with, and then I will sum up my thoughts on the various entries and talk a little bit about the voting process as well. So what do we got going on here? We have this guy, who's going to okay, at first glance this looks like dodgeball or something. These guys are going to be charging forward as I go forward, and they're going to be spitting these pucks at me as I go. And I'm on ore mites, which means I don't get a weapon. Let's just make sure I'm thinking about this right. Yep. Oh, are they stuck? What does this do? Okay, I mean I have 4 mimics, which I can put here and I can do stuff with. If I step anywhere on this plate, then this is sealed and I have to exit this way, which is going to result in me losing because there's no Force Arrow North. Okay, yeah, these are all in Force Arrows. Yeah, so I can't just place a mimic in here in that arrow as well. So this guard, the only way to kill this guard is for me to be standing in this row or in this column or further at some point. And then to have something step on this afterwards, which, I mean, if I'm already in that area, I'm probably just going to do that rather than try to get a mimic to do it. So there's that. Okay. So I step here, he steps forward, and spits the puck out. None of them can actually move, so they're just firing this. They're not going to hit each other, they're not going to get in each other's way at all. They're not going to press the pressure plates either, because we already know about that mechanic from the puck. Once they've done all of this and I get in here, then I have to fight off 11 guards. Okay. Which shouldn't be too bad because I can probably just have a mimic deal with that. Okay, so first thing then, how much can I mess with this? I cannot step on the pressure plate, but I can set a mimic here and have it go this way. As well, I mean, okay, let's go through all of my thoughts here. Like, I mean, I can do this, right? And that'll stop one. But then I just die on the next one. I can do that. Okay, so was that how I'm supposed to do this? Blocking these periodically like this. Because the other thing that occurs to me I can do is I can do something like this. And I can just steal their pucks. It looks like I can't get very far doing this. I can, like, if I did this, like, at best, I'm gonna get. Yeah, I can't do that. I can only do that. Which I might not want to do. I think that's the best I can get. I could steal one puck that way. I'm not really sure how helpful that's going to be. If I send the puck out this way, I can... How does the puck interact with the potions? Actually, well, no, I can't. Oh, yeah, I can. I can figure that out by using another one here. Fine, we're just gonna do it this way, just for science. Blocked by a potion. Okay. Anyway, I'm not feeling too good about any of that. Okay, so let's do that, and Something like that. So we can control which column this puck ends up in. We can control that. The problem is, basically I need a repeating pattern that allows me to use one puck to get around 3, but I don't really see that happening, because the issue here is the only way I can really get this over is to do something like that. Okay. Well, what about... I guess I can do that. And then I can do that. You're kind of in the way. Oh, we can move you. You're really kind of in the way. Okay. If I do that... It's not going to work at all. Okay, I mean, I was thinking I could do something, sending a puck out this way and try to kill some of the guards. I think I'd only really kill the one, though. Okay, no, I think this is just me. Let's get this sword out of the way. So I can do this. That's fine, because that lets me get 2 of them. From there... I mean, I might as well just do that, right? Because my choice is here. I can kill the Mimic myself to get a puck as a shield. Or I can... Okay, so... let's just calm the screen down a little bit. If I jump this one up to here, I can use it to block that. However, if I jump it up to here, I can use it here and then I can use that one, and I can also use it to stop this one, which will stop another one. I mean, it doesn't really matter because I can control myself here. So is that the height I want? I think I want it one higher than that. That's what I wanted to try. Yeah, because then I can do that and that, which gets me that one out for free, and that one. So if use 2 mimics for 5, okay, I might... Okay, I might not have wanted to... Well, no, I had to. Okay. There's nothing I can do with this, right? I can't push it against the Force Arrow. Well, it's 5 out of 11 with 2 mimics. So here... The problem with what I've done is that it's not really replicable. Because... well, I mean... let's just continue with this. Yeah, so we know that's happening. That... okay, if we block the next one up here... I mean, let's just try that. Okay, I should have done this first. Because that lets me do that. Okay, I mean that lets me get a whole bunch. But that's still... Well, I mean it's really only 5 more, isn't it? Which is the same as I had before. And then I'm missing that last puck. Well, this is a very cool room. I'm just thinking about my voting. I don't think this would have upped. I don't think this would have upped this entry in my list, but it is not something I had considered before. The one room I missed. Okay, so how am I doing this? Because the problem with what I had here was that I just run out of yeah, I just run out of pucks. Okay, well the further I go, the more I can drag somebody in, and then I can hop them up later and get them back around maybe. So yeah, let's just do that. Third one goes here, but this one we want not on 1, we want it on... how do we want it? Okay. Yeah, I'm still thinking about that. If I could. If I do that, that gets me through 2 more. And can I do the rest of this? Where is it? Here? Let me do that. Oops, probably don't want to be that close. But from here... whoops. Actually... yeah, I can do that for 1. Okay, I can do that. And that. Nope, don't want to do that just yet. Okay, so with all of that done, I can now go up here. I'm going to lose that puck. That's fine. Ooh, but I don't want it right there. I really don't want it right there. Okay, so let's lose that puck to the south, or I can just ignore it. I could just ignore it for now. So I'm going to lose my little alcove here. Can I get this puck here? Yeah, I can do that. Okay. I can do that, and that's fine, I think. So what we're going to do is that, that. Oh, got the guy. Don't have to worry about him hitting that with his sword. So that blocks me here now. So really, I just have 2 more to go. Okay, now from here, because I have, do I have that option? I was considering using. Okay, if I do that. Okay, so before we do that, I want. See, that's a problem now. I can't get that one out of the way. Okay, well, I can do that. And that. There we go. And now with that out of the way, how does that help me? I can do something like this. I mean, I can, but I can hit here again. And then I can... I mean, I can set it up on this... I can set it up on this diagonal, I can set it up on this diagonal, but then it's just up here, and then I'm being silly. The other question, I suppose, is if I can get you to block with your sword so that yeah, because the problem here is if I step north at all, you come out. So I can use you, for sure. I can use you to block one more. So it's just a question of... Well, no, that's all I need, right? Because I get you, block one, and then I put the diagonal. Okay. I think this is a working solution. I just need somewhere I can actually stack you now to get you into the right spot. That's as far over as I can go. Okay, well, I think I can do... okay, let's do that. There we go. Which... not quite able to get you where I want somehow. There's nothing I can do with this, right? Oh, I can do that. There we go. Okay, yeah, then I can collapse you up nice, like so. And then I can go over here. There we go. Okay. And then it's just a matter of doing that and that. Smash all those, they bug me. Okay, and then from here... let's just do that. Give myself some hockey pucks to use. Because now they're all gonna come for me. Oh wait, there's hot tiles here. I can just... oh, I might have made this dangerous for myself. Okay. Wow. That was a pretty tricky little room. But there we are, hold mastered, beautiful. And already finished. So that is the entirety of the custom element contest finished. I do, however, want to talk a little bit about voting, just because from seeing the voting results, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who actually voted the way that I did, and this wasn't really specified anywhere, so I just kind of want to get my thoughts out there. well, I think most people are voting sort of in an absolute, using absolute values as opposed to relative values. So a lot of people would vote 7s and 8s for a whole bunch of entries. Whereas in my case, we had 14 entries, voting on a scale from 1 to 10. So I just assigned, I just ranked them all, and then just went down the list, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. With the duplication, I had 2 10s, 2 9s, 2 2s, and 2 1s. And there were a few other things, I guess, that are kind of weird about that. So I guess I'll just go through and talk briefly about each of these entries one more time in the order. You already voted. I don't need to run around for this. I can do this from the restore screen. Actually, one other thing to note here is, where is it? I did not have 100% exploration. That familiar feeling. This room. As far as I know, there is no way to actually access this room in-game. But all it does is gives a few notes about the architecture for that familiar feeling thing. So some discussion about the challenges and hard-coding teleporters and stuff like that. So they're here if you want to read them yourself. Yeah. So that's that. So from restore, let's just go through them then in order. We were told to vote 10 for our own entry, so I did vote 10 for my own. I don't really have that much more to say about it. I think I mentioned before this was my favorite room and this was my least favorite room from an architecture side of things. And I did make the mistake here with the blue door, but nothing else I really wanted to say there. My favorite element, going through all of these, was the leech. I really love the leech as a monster. I think it fits in really well with the other the monster elements that exist. It sort of feels like it fills this niche as an aquatic enemy, which there's only the water skipper so far, but this one is an aquatic enemy that also has the ability to travel on land, but not always, which I think is really neat. I like the fact that it has something similar to the Evil Eye, where it's awakened under certain situations, and it's just something I could just see myself having, both for trying to build puzzles around it and also just having it as an atmospheric enemy if I wanted to throw a random enemy into some room in one of my holds. It feels like it would just fit. It just feels like a DROD element. And of course, these ratings are going to be entirely subjective anyway, but yeah, the Leech Swampy Basement gets my 10 out of 10 rating. Favorite element for sure. This room, well, this room was pretty difficult, but I'm not going to fault it for that. It was a good room as far as monster mazes go. This was a pretty brilliant little monster maze. And I'm not going to spend too much more time talking about the rooms and stuff themselves, unless anything comes to mind. So for 9s, Koopa Bros Fortress, another monster that I really enjoyed, the Bombette. I really liked how it interacted with shallow water and how it interacted with invisibility. The way you could have puzzles built around defusing it after it's gotten excited, or I guess unexciting it? Boring it? I don't know. Is there a verb for to unexcite? Disincite? Disexcite? We'll say you have to calm them down somehow. So I did give this entry as well a 9 out of 10. And these aren't to say that, like, because this is all relative to other entries, I mean, I think all the way down to 3 out of 10 are elements that I really enjoyed. It's just their relative rankings, so... And that's why the ranking itself is something that I guess I should have asked about how people expected to vote on this kind of thing, and if I don't know, it's just one vote, so I doubt I screwed it up too much. Anyway, 9 out of 10. The Bombette. Also, Pulse Cannon. I really enjoyed the pulse cannon. I think generally looking at my voting results, I had a preference in general for monsters, just because I think they would fit more easily into general holds. But as far as architecture goes, I mean, these cannons were quite the impressive bit of scripting. I couldn't even begin to imagine how they would work. And oh, okay, apparently I shouldn't be clicking on these because they're gonna start lagging it, but there's a ton of different types of puzzles that can be done with it. There's this room, which I'm sure was everybody's favorite when they played this entry. Cool interactions with the Fagundo and the Wubba not being killed by the beam. So it's overall, the pulse cannon was a really fun element. And also it treated kegs and mirrors differently, which is something that I like. Yeah, so it's a great entry overall. 8 out of 10 was a duplication lab, another enemy. You're not actually going to be able to see it in any of these because they're all, I think I hit checkpoint after completing every room, but whatever. With the exception of this room, which I'm still pretty convinced that I actually broke somehow, because this I didn't use at all. I was doing, I don't know, I didn't really use this arrow here, I didn't see what point that had. So, yeah, this was, aside from this room, like even this one, like I kind of gave it a hard time at the time, but going back through and playing it again, it was okay. It was just, yeah, but then this room was alright. This room was, actually, this mechanic here is just brilliant for Targaroth puzzles, doing something like this. And the Targaroth itself was quite interesting. This was probably my favorite room in the entire hold. And this is honestly the best time clone room I think I've ever seen. So there's a lot of good things to say about this. If we were voting based on architecture and not based on elements, then absolutely this would have been my top pick, this hold. Of course, that being said, other architects would have voted differently, I'm sure. Or voted differently, well that too. They would have built their entries differently if this was an architecture contest and not an element contest, if that makes sense. So yeah, this was fantastic. Really loved the duplication lab. It was a ton of fun to play through. For 7, I gave my 7 score to Pixie Desert. Another element that I really enjoyed. It had a few things like here. I now know how I was supposed to have solved this room. It's completely possible without killing off one of the pixies, which is fine. Apparently this room and this room were broken. So, I mean, there were a few issues with the hold itself. As far as an element goes, the reason that the pixie was so low on this list was that it used the special command. And that's something that playing through all these entries, I think I appreciated things that didn't require the special command a lot more than things that did, just because the requirement that you use the special command is going to make a lot of these elements incompatible with each other. Although, as I was musing about in my playthrough of Horticulturalist's Headache, the Pixie actually is probably the best out of all of the special command ones, because I think it sort of fits this prankster, trickster sort of character that I'd imagine a Pixie to have, for the Pixie to be messing with you every time you're, firing your rocket or planting a briar seed or shooting a dart or whatever else you're using the special command for. I think that would be really fun to have a room where there's a Pixie in the room as well that keeps swapping places with you as that happens. But overall, this was a really fun, solid entry. It was a fun one to start with. And this is actually, because I've seen the voting results now, this is the entry that ended up winning, and I can see why. It was a fun entry, nice little bit of story as well, nice portrait art for the pixie. And some people apparently thought it was really creepy. I had no problem with it. Thought it was totally fine. And the element itself was capable of doing a bunch of different things that were all fairly interesting. Alright, 6. Net benefits. My favorite out of all of the weapon type entries. The net probably would have ranked actually quite a bit higher than it did, except that some of the puzzles just really bothered me. having the ability to place it on a pit or on water, like place something on a pit or on water and not have it sink immediately, putting stuff on top of tar stuff. This felt more like buggy behavior that if you're not going to fix the element, at the very least, don't build puzzles around it. But the choice to include these rooms actually hurt this element in my eyes, because I mean, it was kind of neat, and I understood how it was supposed to work. Like, I solved the puzzle, but I just didn't like seeing the net used in that way. And yeah. As far as things I did like, I liked the ability to scoop up decoys and mimics and use that to reorient them. The interaction with Evil Eyes was really interesting, being able to put eyes back to sleep. It was handy to scoop up Fagundos as well. It's a fantastic element, and honestly, I really hope I do get to see a lot more done with the net. I suppose the other thing I guess I would have liked was some sort of implementation that would have a net weapon token, where you can swap to and from a sword. And I guess some sort of decision would have to be made as to what happens to the enemy that's in your net when you do that. Probably it would just stay here, it would be the easiest thing. The room wouldn't be cleared until you picked up your net and deposited the enemy again. So, yeah, that was, this was a really fun entry and a really fun element, despite all the issues I had with it. 5 goes for Bithro Plays Hockey, which was a very popular element with a lot of people. I don't really know what to say about this element. I guess I don't find the counting diagonals or sliding it around. Yes, this isn't something that we really have in DROD because we don't have ice sliding puzzles, but I just didn't particularly enjoy that as a mechanic. And as a weapon, I don't really see it as something I'd particularly enjoy using either. Or as a room element. And like I said, even my opinion of the element actually did increase having played this room, but it still would have ranked below net benefits, so it wouldn't have actually changed my voting results the way I was doing it. This room, there's a couple of things, like darts going through Briar and pucks going through Briar. Briar isn't treated as an obstacle by a lot of these custom weapons, and that's something that just feels a little bit off to me. This was totally okay, the interaction with the water. This was really neat. This was actually almost like playing hockey, where you're batting the puck back and forth between yourself and a mimic, which I thought was pretty cool. Probably my favorite room in this entry, although it was a little bit fiddly to actually get to work. Next, on 4, when mass production breaks. Conveyor belt, really great idea, but the implementation had a few things that bothered me. And I didn't even count the turn order shenanigans against it, although that certainly did hamper my enjoyment of this room in particular. But the issue with having it forced to, whenever you have a closed loop, I would have preferred just to have a note saying don't build closed loops. This kind of bothered me, having it skip arbitrarily. They said in the hold it skips because of the ortho square, but no, it skips because of the turn order, and the ortho square is just kind of a rationalization for it afterwards. A way to notify the player, which that's nice, it's appreciated. This was fantastic, having the ability to swap them on and off, or toggle them on and off. And the fact that, Half could do it, or presumably other entries like Mimics and whatever, you'd be able to program it so that they would be able to toggle them as well. Since we're here, I'm just going to say this puzzle is pretty good. Pretty cool. I like Half puzzles. But the other issue, well, 2 other issues actually, that I really had with it. I guess this is another limitation, but this felt really inconsistent, having a Golem corpse. I don't know if there's a way to check for the Golem corpse, but you could, since this is just recreating monsters, it might be able to recreate the Golem in the next space and then kill it immediately so that you're still moving the rock. But having it slide when alive, but then stay still when dead, just doesn't really make sense. But the biggest issue, where is it? Where is it? Ah! The interaction with water. Here, this room. Why? Why did you decide to have the deep water turn into a stepping stone when you knocked a mirror into it off of a conveyor belt? This just makes no sense whatsoever. And I just couldn't accept that. It just really bothered me that this was a decision that was made, because it's totally inconsistent with everything else, and there's no real reason for it. It's just completely arbitrary, and I mean, even like if the plate was off and I just pushed it with my sword, it would, well, I haven't tested that, but I assume it would just sink, and it's the pressure, the conveyor belt itself that makes that happen. And it doesn't make any sense at all that it would happen. So I did not like that. 3. Two-headed serpents. Another enemy. I actually quite enjoyed this hold. This is one where if I'd been doing an absolutive scale as opposed to a relative scale, I would have given this a much higher rating than I actually did. But on the relative scale, it went this low just because I felt like the other elements were better. So I gave it a 3. I actually quite enjoyed this entry. Other people apparently had issues with it, but I didn't find it to be too difficult. There was the magic sequence moves. I guess these two I would sort of consider. Still not up with, don't know what's up with the secret. Secret room itself was great, but is it accessible and then escapable? Because if I kill the serpent first, this room just can't be escaped. So I think this was a forced restore, which on an architectural side of things I don't appreciate. But for the puzzle itself, that was fine. The interactions with invisibility and brains, though. These were things I had issues with. I didn't like the fact that they were inconsistent for no real reason. Invisibility in particular felt pretty bad. Having an enemy just ignore brains arbitrarily, it's okay. And it does allow for neat things to happen, but because like brains already have a bunch of weird behavior, and I was kind of okay with that. But having a monster ignore invisibility arbitrarily is not really something that I like. And I think the architect has stated that he's actually going to be changing the invisibility interaction. I guess because he and most of the other people that have talked with him about it also have that opinion regarding the invisibility. It doesn't really add anything to the element, in my opinion. I'm just going to make a quick insert here to say that if I had not been told in the voting instructions to give myself a 10, I would have voted myself next. So everything else would have gone up one ranking, Two-Headed Serpents would have been a 4, and Horticulturalist Headache would then have been the 3 on my voting system. And it's not to say that I don't think my element is good. I actually really enjoy my element. I had a ton of fun designing these levels, but I recognize that it's incredibly limited in compatibility, I guess, with other things. Like, it's just like a lot of these other elements, you can build a level around it. And you can also build a level around something else and just incidentally include it, and it still makes sense as, a puzzle element. Whereas my element, I mean, any room that contains my element is basically going to be the central focus of the room, and it's going to be a Briar puzzle, which makes it doesn't play well with others, I guess. And so I see it not really fitting in to other holds, and I completely understand that other architects probably will just never have any desire to use it for anything, which is fine. It wasn't as compatible as a lot of these other elements were. So that was that. Down to the 2s. Darting around. I didn't particularly enjoy the original darts level. In the Second Sky. Darts were, it was fine, but it was basically a lot of counting squares, and I didn't find it to be terribly interesting as a ranged weapon. Here, we have, instead, we're doing these Omni Splitters, or whatever they were called, turning the darts into basically restocking your ammunition. And it was okay. I mean, the thing I liked most about this implementation of darts was actually having the darts lying around, and then you would pick one up and use it and then you have to use it before picking up the next one. And this room is fantastic, actually. I really enjoyed this room. But then there are a few other weird things, like not cutting mud, but then killing the mud underneath the mud mother. And I think that's just a mud mother quirk, but it's not an interesting, like, it's just either you know it or eventually you test it, or you don't solve the room. It's not something I find interesting. Again, the briar, shooting a dart through the briar doesn't make sense. Which, it might have been a problem with the original dart implementation, I'm not sure. I mean, so overall, I mean, it wasn't terrible, it was just, I don't know, it didn't really do anything for me. It didn't really feel like a new element so much, and it was the splitters themselves I didn't find too terribly interesting. Next, also on 2, Smite Blasting 101, another dart type. And I guess actually I had these both rated as 2 and I never really thought about it, but I guess I'd actually rate this one higher than darting around. Since they're getting the same score anyway, I just kind of threw them into the list as I was going through the entries again. But I would probably rate this one above darting around if they were going to have distinct scores. This one, the fact that they explode made it more interesting. The fact that it was scripted so that you don't turn to face whichever way you're moving, I thought was good. It made it feel like a more solid and unwieldy weapon than the darts do. The darts are really fast, you can throw them. This is like heavier, you're lugging it around and you have to turn slowly, which I appreciated that. It made it feel more distinct from the darts. But the reason that this had such a low score was stunning rockets. Something which just makes absolutely no sense to me, and that's the kind of thing I care about, so sorry, it's going to affect the rating. Pushing it, I could accept pushing it out of the air. That would be fine but the fact that it was also stunned for a turn was just exceptionally silly, and I did not care for that. Issue with the Fagundo moving mysteriously, not ideal, but I can live with that. This room, in particular, I gave it a really hard time the first time through. That was just a case of me not understanding how the weapon worked and not having had enough experience with it. Playing through this again, it's just a simple matter when dealing with brained enemies with a rocket launcher. As long as you're standing on a square that is a different color from your enemy, then the rocket will hit. But if you're standing on squares that are the same color, they will sidestep the rocket. And as soon as I made that realization, this whole thing made a lot more sense to me. So overall, it was kind of fun. This was probably my favorite room out of all of them. I found it to be quite clever. This hitting a rocket in midair with another rocket was also pretty clever. You know, it was, these were still good puzzles. It was just not my favorite out of all the elements here. But still fun to play. Fire, fire, fire. This is going to the 1 ratings now. This one, there were basically 2 types of puzzles that were being used. There was place a whole bunch of traps down and then kill all the monsters in the room in 1 turn, which is just a monster prediction puzzle. I don't care for those, I don't find them interesting. The other was build terrain, use the fire trap to change what the terrain is. So, make it so you can stand on the shallow water and then monsters can see you, or cut platforms in half, cut a pressure plate in half. things like that. It was okay. It just felt really weird to me that you were having a fire trap. It felt inconsistent with what the fire trap should have been, to me. Because I don't know, I feel the fire trap is more of a tool, and that was just using, and I don't know, again, I didn't care for that. I will say, this was probably my favorite room out of all of them, just because it was using a fire trap in a way that fire traps are consistently used to as an obstacle for sound, which this makes no sense in the real world, but in the DROD universe, a lit fire trap blocks sound. So given that that was already something I was accustomed to, I did really like this puzzle and using the horn to come through, and yeah, this is definitely my favorite of all of them. This one also is quite good. I quite like this puzzle as well. And then I guess finally, that familiar feeling. It was a short entry. It was, yeah, see, explored. It's only 88% because I don't have that room. It was a short entry. This room looked like it had the potential to be really cool. I mean, if we'd actually gotten a Gurkle gun. But I guess that was just a scripting issue, and it seems to me that really this was just the architect being far too ambitious and not experienced enough. Because I think you could script a Gurkle gun in DROD script, but that's something that would require a ton of experience, and you know, you'd have to do a ton of experimentation, and I don't know, maybe someday someone will come up with an implementation for it, but as it stands, this was like a showcase of what the hold wanted to be, but then what the hold actually was something very different. And this hold itself, because everything's hard-coded, this isn't really something that could be transferred easily into another architect's hold. So I give That Familiar Feeling a 1 out of 10 for my rating as well. And yeah, so that's my thoughts for the custom element contest. It was a ton of fun. I have no issue with, the pixie element ended up winning. Congratulations, Luke, I think it was, the architect. Lucky Luke. So congratulations for your winning entry. It was a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll see pixies again somewhere. If you don't do it, then someone else will. It's something I certainly wouldn't mind using in some holds at some point. And I guess that was really the whole idea of this, wasn't it? Was that all of these elements should be accessible for architects to use in their own holds. And honestly, I really hope that I do get to see more of these, because a lot of these were really, really fun. And yeah, it would be great to see more of that. Anyway, that's enough of this. It's been quite a long ramble. But those are my thoughts on all the entries. Had a ton of fun, and I hope to see more of it. No plans for any future LPs at this point, so I guess I'll just say goodbye for now. Thanks for watching, and see you around with the DROD forums or wherever you happen to be.